Hello, and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing engineer. I hope you're doing wonderfully well out there in podcast land. We are definitely into August. It's got hot again, and I'm not a happy bunny. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about what we're actually here for. So this week, I am interviewing David, who is the producer and the owner of Red City Studios in Manchester. We discuss all sorts of things in this episode. I think it's a really good chat, but particularly we discuss things like how David got started and stumbled upon an absolutely ideal studio space, how he works collaboratively with bands to help develop their songs as like their biggest fan, tuning toms to match the key of the song, and building trust with bands over time and how he develops that. So really good stuff, really informative chat. I really enjoyed this one. So I'm just going to say on with the interview. So today on the podcast, I am joined by David of Red City Recordings. David, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, really good.
Excellent. So my first question, as always, is from an online random question generator. And my question for you this week is, what was your best birthday?
Wow.
Yeah, not a question anyone expected, least of all me.
Do you know what? It's so funny when you just ask a random question like that. You think, do you know what? I can't remember any birthday I've ever had. I guess you have the most fun when you're a little kid, don't you? When you're having like what's my best birthday? Do you know what? It's probably one of the last couple since I've had my little girl, because everything's bad when you've got a little child. You know, she's pretty amazing. So the last couple of birthdays I've had, we've just been out with my wife, with her, just for some dinner, some drinks, and it's been good.
Nice. That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, my answer probably would be something about like laser tag when I was 8 or something, I reckon.
Yeah, well, I can't really remember the laser tag, so I was trying to think of a good kid's birthday I had, but I've either forgotten them or didn't have any.
Oh well, never mind. I'm sure someone can listen who might know and remind you. There we go. So my first, I guess, serious question for you is, how did you get into the mad world of music production? How did you end up where you are?
Well, I kind of started almost straight away as soon as I got into music, really. I think when I was about 11 or 12, my cousin, who was a bit older than me, I think he was about 16, when we used to go around to see him, he had an electric guitar, and he'd play, and I was like, wow, okay, I need to get a guitar. So I think I just said to mum and dad, I want an electric guitar, and they said, if you still want one by the time it's your birthday, which was like, I don't know, 6-7 months away, they said I could have one. So it came round, I was like, still definitely want one, got a guitar, and then from that...
What guitar was it?
It was an Epiphone SG.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, I don't think they would have bought me a new one. It was second hand, and it had a headstock brake. Like, it had been repaired. Oh. But I just saw it, because I was into Guns N' Roses at the time, it just looked like something that, well, Slash never used an SG, but the headstock reminded me. It was one of the original Epiphone ones with the headstock that looked like Gibson, not the rounded edges one. So, I just wanted that. So I got that. I think it was about 120 quid or something. And then that's it. I basically just played guitar every single spare second I had, and that turned into writing my own songs. And then obviously I wanted to start recording them. So I think my dad, one of his mates at work, had a son who had a 4-track recorder and had a new 4-track recorder. So he said, my mate at work, his son's going to lend you his one. So I think it was like a Tascam Porter 1 or Porter 2, I can't remember what it was. But I think, yeah, so basically from the age of like 13, I just started recording myself, all the songs I was writing. I had one of those, I don't know if you ever remember, there was like a Boss DR5. It was called it was essentially like a drum machine, but it was it was called a rhythm section. It was like a drum machine, but it had, the buttons were laid out like a fretboard, and you could program the drums, and then you could program a bass as well, and guitar. I think you can program like 4 different instruments, and it was easy to program in because you could just play the buttons like it was a guitar. So I basically record sort of, myself with making songs on that. And then the next bit was obviously when I got into bands. Actually, I'll tell you, my first proper experience in a studio was there was this, when we was at school, there was this thing in the summer holidays called the Bands Project. It was like a council-run thing. In the summer holidays, you'd pay to go for a week, and on the first day, they'd kind of put you in a band with, if you was a guitarist, they'd put you in a band with a drummer. Everyone's kind of like between the ages of 14 and 16. And you kind of get in a band, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you rehearse. Then on the Thursday, you go to a studio to record one of the songs you've been working on. And on the Friday, you do a gig. So on the Thursday, obviously, that was my first time in a proper studio with proper mixing desk and that kind of thing. So that was the first time I got the buzz.
Was it not scary?
No, to be fair, like I've for something, I don't know if you feel the same, but the studio's always had like a calling. But every time you see it, you just think that's the kind of place I want to spend all of my time. So so then from that point on, it was just recording my own bands, really, my own music. I think the next thing was like a Roland digital, one of those VS 1680s or an 1880, whatever it was. Just using that, and then I got that when I was working in PMT. I got a job in PMT when I was like 18. That kind of allowed me to, because I could usually get cheap stuff, so that kind of helped me get a load of studio equipment. I set up a studio in my mum and dad's house in my bedroom there, and then just basically just being in bands. Every time we was in the studio in a band, that was kind of like the place where I felt more comfortable. The gigs were okay, but being in the studio, that was the fun bit. I remember we was in New York. I was in a band, and Kevin Shirley was mixing our album, and while we was out there, we had some showcases for like labels and stuff. So Kevin Shirley we was in Quad Studios, which is like literally on Times Square.
Nice.
The weather was amazing. All of the band was there. We was in the studio, and then because the weather was nice, the rest of the band were like, we're going to go to the park. We're going to go to Central Park and just hang out. And I was like, I'm staying here, just watching Kevin Shirley mix. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah. So they was all, so for like the week and a half that we was mixing this record, they spent the whole time in the park and going out, and I spent the whole time just looking over Kevin Shirley's shoulder, watching him mix. And then, from that point, I guess, then I kind of just stayed in the band for a while. I didn't really start doing this properly until our singer left, and I decided that was probably a good point to leave as well. Was that Heaven's Basement? Yeah. We'd been doing it a few years. We've done some really cool stuff. But then Richie, the singer at the time, he left, and then that was the point where I was just like, I just want to be in the studio all the time. And I did have an amazing time touring, but the bit in the studio was always the bit where I was like, I just want to do this all the time. I love the conception of the music, hearing it all come together. Once it's done, going out and playing it again and again is cool, but I just want to make another song. And then when it's done, just make another one. Just make it so, that was kind of our, at that point I just wanted to get in the studio the whole time. So I left the band. I still continued kind of working with them for a little bit after that, just sort of working on songs with them. But from that point I kind of just tried to figure out how I could just be in the studio all the time. It took me a little while to find this studio. Before I could, I kind of had to work in other studios, which was not ideal, because obviously if you're trying to compete with other producers for to work. If I say to you, come and work with me, as opposed to another producer who's got his own studio, and I have to tack on the cost of hiring a studio on top of my day rate, becomes a little bit prohibitive cost wise. So that was kind of hard for a little while, but then eventually I found this place just by luck.
How did you find it? Was it just an online thing that you found? Or?
No, basically. So at the time, I kind of had a mobile setup. I had like a laptop with I think I was running Pro Tools at the time. And my mate, Guy Benj, who's a drummer in a band called The Fear at the moment, he was in a band at the time called Ashes. I was recording their EP in his flat, which was on the 5th floor of the building I'm currently in. and he had a tattoo shop on the first floor. They just I was still living in Essex, not in Manchester. I was up in Manchester working with them. And then I think they were going on tour and they needed someone to rehearse. They couldn't rehearse in their usual place. So he spoke to the landlord and said, have you got any empty buildings that we can just set our gear up to rehearse in? And he said, you can use the basement if you want. So he said, okay. I didn't even know there was a basement. And then he phoned me up and was like, mate, you'll never guess what. There's like an old studio in the basement.
Oh, what? Oh, amazing.
So I was like, what? So he sent me some pictures, and it was basically someone who I've since met. I met the guy that actually did do it. But sort of 15 years ago, someone built a studio in the basement. Actually, it was probably 20 years ago now. And then at some point it turned into other things, but the rooms were still here with the window, the partition window. It was exactly as it was. I mean, when I did move in, it was grim. There was rats down here. It was damp. It took me like 2 months to clean it. But it's in such a good location. I'm literally like in the northern quarter of Manchester. You know, I'm in the city centre. Just it's buzzing around here. Great location. The studio's it's not huge, but it's pretty big. So I kind of just lucked out with this place. Just
absolutely, that's amazing.
Yeah. So at the time, I was still living in Essex, but I had this studio in Manchester. But luckily, my wife's originally from Manchester. I said to her, "How do you feel about moving back to Manchester?" She said, "Yeah, let's do it." I mean, it took her about a year to find. She works in pharmaceuticals. She's got a pretty good job, so it took her about a year to find a job that she was happy to move for. So for a year or so, I would kind of be back at home, then come up here for a couple of weeks to work. I'd just sleep on the floor and then go back home for a couple of weeks, back and forth for a year, and then eventually she moved up, and now we live up here full time.
It must be emphasised to anyone listening who hasn't ever tried to look for a studio or anything like that, how rare it is to find somewhere that's already kind of set up in that way. That is very unusual.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, at the time I was kind of, because I was down in Essex, I was looking at places around London and prices. No, I was just thinking,
not round here.
I was just thinking, I just don't know how I'm going to make this work. Like in terms of being able to cover the costs, because I would even though I'd been doing it since I was 12. I didn't really know. I still didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of blagging it. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of, I've done some good stuff, but really, you don't really start until you start doing it every day, and kind of, and also have a place which you're comfortable with, and you can learn about the place you're recording in. I think it's harder. So yeah, it's hard looking for places around London because the price was just crazy. But up here, way better.
Yeah, I live in the wrong part of the country in that regard. I'm in southwest London, so...
oh, right, okay.
Yes. I have looked, and no. Yeah. So I very much, when I record, I very much go to other studios. So
yeah, I mean, to be fair, like when I did do... I went to some other... Before I had this place, I did go to some other studios. Like, I worked at Mono Valley. I was working with a Welsh band. We went to Mono Valley, which was pretty cool. That was... it's closed down now, which is a shame, because that's a great studio. And then there was... the Motor Museum in Liverpool. Do you know Al Grove?
I don't know him personally, but I sort of know him by reputation, as it were.
Yeah, he's cool. I went to his. Actually, that funny story, because how I know Al is that when we started Heaven's Basement, we was in a previous band that split up. Didn't really split up. We had a bad management deal, so we kind of got out of that. And the only way for us to be able to continue was to just start from scratch. Dash all the old songs and go from scratch. So we did that, and we got a message from Al. He would have been like maybe 17 or 18 at the time, saying, "I've got a studio in Liverpool. Me and my business partner, we love your band. Been to see him a couple of times. He started a new thing. Do you want to come and have a free recording session?" So we were like, "Well, don't pass that up." So we went up to Liverpool. It was before he had the Motor Museum. He had another place called I can't remember now, but he had a place. Somewhere else in Liverpool, and we went down. Obviously, he done a great job. A couple of the songs that we recorded with him went onto an EP, and then from then we was just pals. We went back to record with him a few times, and then when he got his new studio, the Motor Museum, before I got this place, a couple of times I went over there to use that studio, him engineer, and stuff, which is cool.
Nice. I mean, was there like a specific moment on the journey where where it kind of clicked and you went, I'm actually really good at this? Was there kind of one of those kind of moments that you had?
Do you know what? I don't know. I don't think it. Do you know what? I don't know about you, but because it's just like a constant desire to improve. So there's never really, I can't say that. I mean, there's probably been moments where I've kind of listened to mixes that I've done or songs that I've produced and been like, yeah, okay, we know that came out great. But because there's like, have I made Pet Sounds yet, or have I made The Blackening yet, or have I made Currents like Tame Impala? No. So there's a long way to go. So I don't know about a light bulb moment in the sense. I think everything's just like little mini wins, and you don't really notice kind of a big kind of change. You just look back at something you did 5 years ago and think, wow, I've definitely improved since then.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those funny things, isn't it, that even if you made an album that got to that kind of level of reputation, there'll probably still be something in it where you internally go, yeah, I don't know about that. I wish I'd done that a bit differently.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be. Yeah, and then and also you'd be like, I want to do the next one. I think that's the exciting thing about music production or just making music in general, is that it's just exciting to think that you're never ever gonna reach that point where you go, okay, I'm done. Well, I'll just have a nice sit down now and just enjoy myself. I don't think that time's ever going to come. You'll just be constantly thinking, I need to do better, I need to make more. Do you know what I mean? I've not quite, got that elixir, the magical potion yet. But yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't ever come. I hope the point is that you constantly strive, and because you hear guys listen to the top producers, the guys that have been doing it for years, that are well into their twilight years, still talk about it in exactly the same way.
It's good fun.
That's the exciting. Yeah, it's good fun.
You never know what's going to happen next in any particular piece of music you're going to work on. You never know what's coming around the corner, which is great.
Yeah,
I love that. I think this is one of those things for anyone who's listening who's in a band, who's probably most of you, to be fair, with the best will in the world, you've got your style that your band works in and your kind of particular way of working, your way of doing things. Whereas for producers and mixing engineers and things like that, there's so many different kind of feels and styles of music that we get to work on, which is just great fun, honestly.
Yeah, I know, obviously, because, I mean, if you think about even just making one song, there's probably, it's probably between 5,000 and 10,000 tiny decisions that go into making something finished. Between you deciding the tempo, between the instrumentation, the arrangement, mix decisions, different parts. Which pedal you're going to use, which there's so many variations. There's so many different ways to produce something that nothing can ever be the same twice. Which is great.
It's good fun. Can highly recommend it. So, what, in your opinion, should a band do to prepare better, should I say, for the studio? Is there kind of some standard advice that you dole out to bands when you're about to work with them? Or
I think, do you know what? I think a lot of bands, or not, but some bands think that being so on top of their parts before they get to the studio is the best way to be prepared. But I actually find that can be a little bit of a hindrance. I think the best thing to prepare for the studio is be really on top of your game in terms of your instrument or your voice, so you're ready for parts to change. You know what I mean? It's like a fluid situation. So if you're so wedded to your part that you realise that it actually doesn't quite work perfectly with the vocal, you know what I mean? Like the guitarist might have a really cool little lead part for the verse, but it's not working perfectly with the vocal because it happens over the top of this line, and you've left a gap here where something else could happen. I feel like being ready to kind of change and flip the ideas on the fly is way better than kind of being so on top of your parts that you've pre-written, that you kind of feel boxed in, or you don't want to be completely wedded to an idea. Sorry, that's a dog just barking. I have a dog sitting next to me. Yeah, so I think that's probably the main thing in terms of getting prepared in terms of instruments and that kind of thing. It's so common for bands to turn up with with old strings and that kind of thing. But I kind of even don't worry about it too much, because you end up just doing it on. I've got loads of strings here and stuff just in case, because as much as you say it, or you say to, you can say to a band, have you got new strings? And they're like, yeah, they're pretty new. They've only been on like 8 weeks. So I think that's probably the main thing in terms of preparation, just being prepared to move on the fly.
I mean, how do you deal with situations like that where maybe you think to yourself, this part isn't working in the context of the song, and you've got, let's just pick out a guitarist, why not? And they're the one who goes, no, that I really want to put this in. How do you handle that? Do you just let them do it, or what's your approach to that kind of situation?
If I say something like that, I'll have a reason for saying it. I mean, it's not like I'll ever say to someone, I don't like your guitar part. That's it. There'll be a reason why I think it doesn't work, and it will either be because it's like treading on the vocal, or the part has left a gap where there's just an energy gap. So it'll just be like refining something. So I mean, if someone was so completely into it that they didn't want to change, it'd have to be. I mean, there's rarely like a fight to the death situation where I'm like, no, we can't record it. I'll be like, okay, we'll make it work. I'll just have it lower in the mix or something. If you're completely, essentially it's their record. So I would never tell someone it's got to be my way. I would just suggest a potential way for it to be better. And if they disagree with me, then fair enough. They disagree with me.
It's their song, isn't it?
Exactly, it's their song.
It's their mistake.
Yeah, that's it.
Obviously, you don't say that. Cool. I mean, so let's say a band wants to record with you and they reach out. What does the process look like for you, for bands who are in that situation?
First thing it will be, because a lot of the time I'll just get an email and they'll be like, what's your day rate? How, can we come record next month or something? And so the first thing is, can I listen to your band? Can you send me the link? So I'll go and listen to all of their previous recordings, and then I'll say I want to hear demos of the song or songs you want to record. And it doesn't matter whether that's a demo you've done yourself on GarageBand or whatever, or if it's just like a phone recording from your rehearsal room. So I can kind of get a feel for the band to decide whether I either want to do it or whether I'm the right person for them anyway, because, I think, although I kind of cover a lot of ground in terms of guitar music, sometimes you feel like you're not the perfect fit. But yeah, so the first thing would be for me to listen to all their music, and then the next chat would be, what do you want? Do you want anything different? Is there something that you feel like you haven't captured in your previous recordings?
That's a good question.
Why are you not going back there? Why are you what do you want that's different? Is it a sonic thing, or is it just could be anything? So that would be the next thing to figure out. And then I mean, when I'm listening to the demos, if it's I kind of like to have my first impressions noted down. So if they're sending me some demos, I'll make sure I've got a notepad or just got a notepad open on the computer, and I'll just listen to the songs and write down exactly what I feel on my first listen. In terms of tempo, arrangement, what's the best bit of the song? Is there a bit that something that feels exciting towards the end of the song that should be in earlier, or maybe start with that? There's been loads of times where I've heard a song and the band just brings in this really cool section at the end of the song. And you think, why have you left it to the end? We should start with that. Let's start with it. So anyway, I got a little bit off track, but basically, so the first bit is the conversation about what they want to do different this time. And if there's a reason why they've come to me, maybe they've heard something that I've done previous that they like, so then that kind of gives me an idea about what they're kind of looking for. So if not, then I'll also do this anyway. I'll say, just put together like a 15-song playlist of stuff that you like the drums on, maybe you like the guitar tones on this, or just so I know that if we're going to do it, then we're all on the same page. You know what I mean? If they send me stuff that's all like hyper produced, modern, tight metal, then I know that's the vibe they want, rather than a bit looser and a bit more old school. So then the next, obviously, if they decide to come in, then the first thing I'd do always but actually no, depends. There's two different scenarios. One scenario is they've kind of been working on demos that are, you know, on their way to being they're usable demos. Because loads of bands now have got, there might be someone in them, you know, like I was back in the day, someone who was in the band that was into kind of production, and they've kind of got programmed drums or whatever, and they've already got some bass ideas, and they've been working on some bits and bobs. So in that situation, we'll probably use that as a jumping off point. If that's not the case, then I'll have the band set up live in the live room and just play the songs with no click, and then I'll kind of map out those songs so we can create a tempo map. Once we've created a tempo map, then I have the band play to that tempo map live again, and then we use that performance to start tracking the drum. So the drummer will use that performance to track drums too. And then, I mean, I do prefer doing things different because separately, I mean, rather than live, because I really feel like you can hone in on every single second of everyone's performance. So that the song from start to finish, everybody's part works in perfect harmony. You know, the bass player's not doing a run where there's a drum fill that's doing a different thing. So everything works together, and I feel like I mean, sometimes it depends whether we do drums first. If it's more of a live thing and the band are kind of have been playing the song in their rehearsal room, they're kind of confident with it, I can kind of see the finished thing in my head, so I know what I want from the drums. So sometimes we'll do drums first like that. If it's the other way, where we started with the demo, sometimes we'll start with those programmed drums, build the song up, and then do drums later on in the session, which I think for kind of like modern metal, modern rock works really well. You can kind of, you know, make arrangement changes later on, and works pretty well. But I kind of prefer getting the drums down first because I kind of like to mix as I go. So I like us to build the song, and then kind of by the last day when we're putting I like the singer to sing to what sounds like a finished record. I don't know. I think it's more exciting for them if they're
yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, there's not really. I don't really have a set way of working. Everything's different in terms of like listening to the demos and making notes. Like I've done an album with a band called the Sherlocks, and the way that would work, we just spent 2 days per song, and Kieran the singer would come in with his laptop on the day and say, "This is the song we're going to work on today." It would just be a demo. Sometimes it would just be verse, chorus, and then the rest of the song has nothing else. So we just figure out where it goes from there. You know, but it always worked really well, really quickly. We never really got stuck on anything. It was quite a good way to work. Just what does it feel like? Let's go. Get in there. Let's lay down some drums. It was an exciting way to work.
So what, it's maybe a slightly left of field question. What unexpected skills have you picked up in your time as a producer?
Well, I guess probably the main one is learning how to tune drums. I guess that's probably that. I mean, that's the main thing, because I feel like if you can tune a drum kit, you can kind of make any drum kit sound pretty good. Because it's very rare that a drummer comes in that can tune their kit better than I can tune their kit. It's like, I know, like, even if they kind of know roughly how to get their kit sounding really cool, then I'll kind of make further little tweaks from there just to get the spacings between the toms, the perfects, but that's probably the main thing in terms of just making sure the drums are tuned right. I think that's probably the skill that any producer needs. I think, I think when I first started, I didn't have a house drum kit, and I borrowed one off a friend, and it was just like a Pearl. I think it was a Pearl Forum or something. It was basically their absolute entry level, probably 250 quid's worth of drum kit. But put some new heads on it, tune it properly, and it actually sounded pretty good. There was one actually, it's quite one of the times that I learned a lot about how much the tone is in the hands of a drummer. I was set up with this kit. It was someone had booked the studio because they wanted a audition for a band. There was like a pop singer that was putting together a live band, and they just wanted to set up, and they had 7 drummers, 5 or 6 guitarists coming down, a few keyboard players, and all we had to do was just record it and just have them kind of practice in the live room. So I set the drums up, I've tuned them, they're mic'd up, I didn't touch the settings, 7 different drummers played the same kit, and it sounded like 7 different drum kits. And there was one guy that made it sound like a £3,000 kit. So
did he get the gig?
He did get the gig. Get the gig. It was so obvious. It was like I mean, everyone had a different style, but as soon as he got on the kit, it was like, oh my god, there you go, there's your boy.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you someone who subscribes to the tuning your drums differently for every song to the key of the song, or do you not bother with that?
Yeah. I think I do. Not. It depends. Like I've just done. So, for instance, like if there's a part, if there's like a rolling floor tom part, like a boom, 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 boom. That's got if that's not in key with the song, that's going to sound bizarre. So that something like that's always got to be in key. There's I've just done I've just at the tail end of recording a thrash metal album, which has got 11 songs, 5 toms in the kit. So and pretty much all of the songs are in different keys. If I tried to retune that kit every song for a different key, it wouldn't really work. And so for that, I've not done it. Apart from there was one section in the whole song where there was like a riff happening, and he was doing a floor tom part, and I was like, that sounds out of tune. And I figured it out. It was like a semitone out. So I just retuned the floor tom for that one part. But if it's just fast, quick fills around the kit, it doesn't matter so much. But
it's more rhythmic than tuneful.
Yeah. So, but for I would say for 75% of the stuff, I do tune the kit to the key of the song. So
for that one song, you retuned the floor tom for like that one bit.
Yeah. I just
you didn't re-record the rest of it. I'm just curious.
No, because okay. I basically just when it got to the end of that, it was only a semitone. It was a semitone out. So what happened was there was like a guitar part hanging in this breakdown section with him playing this like tribal kind of drum part, and it just sounded really jarring because the floor tom was like a semitone apart. So we waited till we'd finished the whole of the tracking of the drums, and we just went back to that one section. I retuned that time. So
what, in your opinion, makes a great producer-artist relationship? What does that look like?
Trust, I guess. That's the most important aspect of it. If we're going to work together on something, we need to trust each other. You certainly need to trust me in terms of, if I'm going to say we should do it this way, or, because like I said, there could be like 10,000 tiny decisions that go into making something. So, it can go off in a very different direction depending on who you're working with. So I think the trust would be, but you've got to be open to trying new things. Because if I'm going to make suggestions about how we should do this or changing a part or something, then I think it's important that the trust is there. And that kind of comes over time. I think I've built up relationships with bands and artists over time. So maybe things that I would say to certain people now, I wouldn't have said on our first session together. It's about building a bit of trust, so that maybe the first time we work together, there might be something that I thought, but we don't know each other well enough yet. So, but now, we're more comfortable with each other, so we know exactly what makes each other tick, so you feel more comfortable saying certain things. I think for me, also making the process fun. I think like I always try, and if we're doing an album, if we got the time, it's hard if you're just working on like a single. If we've got a couple of days, we're just recording a single. It's very hard to kind of do off the cuff wackier things, but if we've got time in an album, then I'll try and create a bit more variation in the way we do things, just to keep things fresh. Like there's an album I did a year or so ago where there was a section where I could just envision I think on the demo they had like this vocal part, they'd had like a really long reverb on it. So it kind of sounded a bit like it was in a tunnel. And I said, well, why don't we go and record this in a tunnel? Like we could just put a reverb on it and that's cool. And But what if we just get the mic, get a laptop, and just go and find a cool tunnel and record the vocal parts down there? So we did. So we just all got in the car. Joe, the singer, found a tunnel that he thought that would work, and we went down there, set up. It was raining, it was windy. We recorded it. It was really fun, and we ended up using a different take than we recorded in the studio. So we didn't actually use it in the end. We used the version with the reverb on, but it was still cool to go and do it. You know what I mean?
It's the memory of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the memory. So, I think as well, like, as a producer, you want to become like an extra member of the band while you're working with them, but also be kind of the number one fan. So it's important to kind of be in as part of the band, so we're making suggestions and that kind of thing, but also making sure you stay focused as like, what if I'm the number one fan of this band, what do I want to hear? Is this bit a bit boring? Do I just want it to just boot off into some big riff? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I want from you guys. So that's kind of that's the two roles, I think: becoming a member of the band and being number one fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about kind of how do I put it, like making the process fun or enjoyable.
Yeah,
because studios too often can be seen as quite a stressful place to be, and I don't know about you, but I've heard so many stories of people who come to me and gone, I had a terrible experience before and this happened, and you just kind of think, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can be fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, I try and make it fun. We're always having a laugh. I mean, I find it, I get those same stories as well, like, because I'm always well curious. If a band's worked with someone else, I'm always like, what was it like? What was the process like working with them? What do they do? How do they do things different? How do they do things? And you always get crazy stories. There's like someone told me, a band said they'd worked with this producer, obviously won't name who it is, but he'd set his alarm on his phone. Every 50 minutes, he needed 10 minutes to himself. And that might be going outside for a walk, or they said at one point he just decided to do some like push-ups on the floor in front of him. So
what?
Yeah, so they're just like, they're in the middle of recording vocals. He's like, sorry, it's my 10 minutes to me time, and he's like, off. So every hour you got this guy doing 10 minutes of like, I don't know, self-help or whatever he's trying to do. Like, yeah, because like you think, what goes through these people's brains? Like,
yeah.
So I mean,
I don't even know what to say to that.
I know it's so, but I love hearing those stories. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's fun. Like, because it's all about selling the experience as well. Like, as well as making something that we all think is special musically, you want it to be like you want the band to walk out thinking that was one of the best times I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important. Like you said, just like making it fun. It should be fun. I mean, that's why we did it in the first place. That's why, like,
exactly.
That's why you get into a band when you're a kid, because you're like, this looks like the most fun of all time. Just playing music with my mates and like, watching like other bands play in front of audience. You think that's what I want. You can't lose that excitement. You want to keep it fun all the time.
You're right. Absolutely right. I mean, how do you... This might be a difficult question to answer, I don't know. How do you see the future of music production evolving? What do you see kind of...
Well, no. I mean, we don't know, do we? But, I mean, I'm a bit sceptical about the whole AI thing. I've not really seen it do anything that impressive yet. Like, all it seems to do is just suck the romance and the life out of everything. So like, there's like, I guess like there's like AI mastering that's been around for quite a while, and it like, upload your song, it just spits out a master for you. But where's the human element in that? Like, because like I said, all of the tiny decisions that go into making something. I love that human element. There's like mastering guys that I work with, a few different mastering guys, but one guy called Grant Berry who has probably mastered nearly 200 songs for me. I've got a good relationship with him where he can come back to me and say, he did it probably a few weeks ago. He come back to me and said, mate, I'm mastering this song. The bass is too loud. Any chance you could just do us a version with like the bass down like 1.5 dB. So I pulled up the session, opened it up, and was like, yeah, to be fair, the bass is probably too loud. So dropped it down, sent it to him, he mastered it. So you're not going to get things like that with AI mastering. Where else? I mean, I guess like there's Dolby Atmos as well. That's kind of, I don't know whether that's going to catch on.
I'm not sure it will.
No, I mean, I just don't see how. I mean, I guess at some point, if the headphones do it properly, then it could. But no one's sitting in a room in the middle of a room. I mean, that's why it didn't work with like surround sound and stuff, really, because you've got to be sitting in the perfect spot. You know, no one's got 12 speakers in their room. Everyone's just listening on either their headphones. I mean, we've got 2 ears. That's why stereo works so perfectly. I mean, I guess at some point in the future, if Elon Musk does manage to put a brain chip in people's heads, and you can just directly turn your ideas into music from your brain, that'd be quite exciting, I guess.
You know what I mean? Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm just thinking about the times I've just laid in bed with an idea of a song.
Yeah.
Like you can't quite. It's like 3 a.m. You can't really be bothered to get up and flesh it out properly. So you think, I'll just remember in the morning, and you never do. So it'd be quite nice to just lay in bed and just turn that into a song immediately. You know,
the thing I think about the kind of the modern music world, if I can put it that way, or the modern music production scene, is the whole something. Again, if you're in a band, you probably don't know about this. So many new plugins now are advertised as AI powered or AI whatever, and I'm like, is it really? I don't really understand how it would be AI powered. Like, if it's, you know, I don't know if it's a compressor, to talk technical, and it's got some kind of clever look-ahead circuit in it, fair enough, but that's not AI, that's something else.
No, to be fair, I've thought exactly the same thing in terms of, there's this kind of stuff that has been around for like 15, 20 years in plugins, that if they were releasing them now, they'd say AI powered, but it's not really, it's just you know, it's just a program that's creating a certain thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not learning, is it, as it goes? So it's just the new buzzword, isn't it?
Very strange. But there we go.
I mean, I think there's always like a backlash at some point as well in there, where people reject. You know, there's technology comes, and then people want to look back and romanticize about how stuff used to sound. So there's always going to be, you know, advancements, and then people looking back at, you know, how cool things, you know, music used to sound great in every single different decade. So as technology's improved, not necessarily the sound of music's not improved necessarily, is it?
No, I mean, I'm just interested to see if people get kind of nostalgic about like late 90s, early 2000s digital recordings.
They probably will. Because
yeah.
At some point, because I mean, there was a point where that got introduced that everything sounded really clean, and everyone wanted. That's why everyone was kind of missing analog. They wanted the hiss, the dirt, the harmonic distortion, and that kind of thing. So I guess there'll be some point in the future where everyone goes, "Wouldn't it be nice to get that clean early 2000s Pro Tools sound?"
Digital sound.
Yeah, the digital sound. Yeah, of course it will.
Oh, just wait, there'll be plugins that emulate it.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Lovely. Look forward to them. So my final question for you, this is going to be a difficult question. What has been your favourite release that you've worked on? Now, I'm going to say that for anyone listening who may have worked with David, that doesn't mean that he doesn't like what he did with you. It's just a question. So that I'm just going to say that here and now.
Do you know what? That is so hard to choose, because I don't really have like because I don't work in one genre. It's just hard for me to say, you know, this is, I don't think I have a sound or anything. So I like to feel like I give every band a unique sound, or their sound, basically, just enhancing their sound, what they sound like. So in terms of, say, like, you know, there's not really a song or an album that I could say, this is the best I've done, because I could give you like the best I've done in all different things. I mean, like, obviously that Sherlock's album that came out this year, we got to number 4 in the UK charts, which was really cool. So I'm very proud of that album. That was a lot of fun to make, and the songs are all great on it. In terms of like the more heavier stuff I do. Like there's an album I done last year with a band called Decatur, which I love, which is really heavy. I think the indie stuff, I guess maybe one of my favourite songs, there's a band called The Silver Lions, and I think when I first started the studio, I was just on the hunt for bands to work with. So I was in Manchester, so I was just looking around on Instagram, looking at gigs, going to gigs, seeing bands, and I saw these guys, two brothers in the band. They were raw as hell. I could barely play, but there was just something there that I thought was really cool. So we come in with them. I kind of worked with them. I've probably done 25, 30 songs with them now. There's a song we did called Hotel Room, which is a great song. It came together over the course of a few sessions in terms of how it came together. They had the bones of it, and we kind of put it together and made some changes. But it came out really well, and the lyrics are great. I think Dan wrote some great lyrics about him growing up, and how he felt growing up in terms of his mental health, that kind of thing. I think it's quite an honest song, which I love. So that's probably that's one that springs to mind. I mean that led to that led to. I mean, I've just done an album with a band from China, and they heard that song and decided to come from China to Manchester to record their album with us, which was,
as you do,
which was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if there's a bit of the romance of Manchester as well. If you're like if you're from a different part of the world, and they're a great indie rock band, kind of Smiths, The Cure, that kind of thing. And I think if you think of Manchester, that'd be a great place to go and record your album. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, that led to that, which was really cool. So I think I'd probably put Hotel Room, The Silver Lions, as one of my favourites. But I mean, I could probably give you another 100 songs that I would love.
I tell you what, what I'll do is in the link to the show notes below, wherever you are listening, I'll put a link to that so you can go and have a cheeky listen.
Brilliant.
For sure. I mean, I've got to say, you might not be able to tell from my accent, but I'm from Leeds and there's nothing romantic about Manchester.
Oh no, I know, I live it. But I think if you was from a different part of the world and you saw Oasis and the Smiths and Joy Division, that you'd think, wow, Manchester must be and Stone Roses, you think, what a magical place. But like you said, it's rains a lot. I mean, my studio's underground, so I don't really there's no windows, so I don't get to see the rain, but also I don't get to see any daylight either, which is not the best.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
There we are. Cool. Wow. Well, David, I guess all that's left to say is thank you for talking.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Boom. Podcast. Wow, that was a great chat. I really enjoyed that one, I've got to say. But then maybe it's just because I'm a music nerd. But I hope you did too. If you want to work with David, you're thinking about it, you want to talk to him about the idea, then his information will be in the show notes below. I will make sure that is available to you. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Music Survival Guide. If you thought it was helpful, please do share it with any friends and bandmates. Start a discussion around this topic. That would be really I think informative and interesting thing to do. If you have a chance, please do write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps others discover us through the algorithm. If you're thinking of recording or mixing, please do drop me a message with the links in the podcast description below. We can have a chat about it, and I will see you next time.